let the defender undercut in those situations. Even if it's at 2 yards in that situation, it's 3rd and 1. Just be flat. Don't let that guy come underneath.
Atlanta had a couple of nice fourth-quarter comebacks earlier this year against Green Bay and a week ago against Houston. But this fourth quarter is one to forget for Arthur Smith and the Falcons. A lot of mistakes by Atlanta down the stretch. And for the first time in his career, both at college and the NFL, Desmond Ridder loses a home game. Had been 31-0 until this one. Commanders end a 3-game losing streak. They go to 3-3. Bonus coverage coming up. AFC South battle between the Colts and Jags. 24-16 the final. Washington wins. State Farm postgame show on deck. From Matt Ryan, Tiki Barber, A.J. Ross, and Gene Steratore, this is Andrew Catalan saying so long from Atlanta. Now let's go to James Brown in New York.
All right, so Washington gets it done. 24-16 winners over the Atlanta Falcons. That in Atlanta. And Phil, we had talked pregame about Washington wanting to speed things up a little bit offensively for Howell, who certainly has been dealing with a porous offensive line.
Yeah, well, I think that first off, the Washington defense was organized and didn't give up so many plays like they have in the past few games. But also Sam Howell, toughness, leadership, man, and he's won the respect of his teammates, and it shows when you watch him play.
Yeah, he took 5 sacks still in this game, but did not turn the football over. And turning the football over was the story of the game for the Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Ridder threw 300 interceptions, and you just can't win games like that. 3 times as much yards as the Washington Commanders, but you turn the football over, it's hard to win games in the National Football League.
And credit to that Commanders defense, collapsing the pocket and then closing those windows, keeping a young quarterback like Ridder on his toes all game long.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing phenomenal about it. 151 yards is not going to blow your socks off, but like you said, Coach, it's all about the turnovers. He kept the ball clean, he distributed it, and
a lot of explosive players on the Atlanta side. I mean, the interceptions in the red zone drive coaches crazy, as you know. I'm surprised that Arthur Smith didn't slam that iPad down on the ground and just basically start screaming at his quarterback.
We were doing that here.
Yes. Yes,
All right, folks, we've talked about D and Jacksonville's D's been getting it done. Let's take it to the Indy at Jacksonville contest. Join the announcers there, Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, and Amanda Renner.
Buffalo football team, and I know Doug Peterson was anxious to see how they would come out, but I think they answered all the questions here in this game. Really, what else could you ask for? A complete team win here for Jacksonville.
In the meantime, the questions in Indianapolis will start to center around Gardner Minshew. How quickly can they put this one behind them as they try to pick up the pieces next week against Cleveland? Anthony Richardson will be a bystander for the foreseeable future.
That's the end of the
as
game.
Jacksonville puts one on them and win it 37-20. Coming up next, the State Farm postgame show. Now for Adam Archuleta, Amanda Renner, Gene Steratore, rest of our CBS crew, Spiro Ditas saying so long from Jacksonville as we go to James Brown in New York.
All righty, guys, thank you so much. Jacksonville goes to 4-2. They are leading the AFC South. Let's take you down to Miami, where the Dolphins are leading the Carolina Panthers 42-21. And our announcers, Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins.
Now CBS Sports switches to easy mode for the Geico play of the day.
In Miami, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa finding Tyreek Hill speeding. What else? Along the sideline, 41 yards to pay dirt. The cheetah darted past Dante Jackson of the Panthers on his way to his 6th touchdown. Take a look at this. A selfie of his backflip. The man is bad.
For all your insurance needs, it's easy to Geico. This is the State Farm postgame show.
And hello again, everyone, and welcome to the State Farm postgame show. A reminder, coming up next, teams from around the country continue to battle for a title. Tune in to the PBR Camping World Team Series, Road to the Championship. Again, That's coming up next right here on CBS. Meanwhile, back here in Studio 43, we have a full house, and the guys are ready to get going. Let's go to the highlights.
All right, a little bit of offense in the first half between these two teams. The Seahawks at the Bengals. Kenneth Walker III is going to take this in for a 1-yard TD run. Seattle up 7-0. Back comes Joe Burrow, a little time in the pocket. He's going to find Andre Josephash for his first ever touchdown. It's his birthday, by the way, as well, for the young rookie wide receiver. 14-7 Cincinnati. Late in the game, 4th and goal from the 6. Pete Carroll elects to go for it as opposed to kicking it. A field goal, and guess what? Geno Smith gets sacked, and then 4th and 8 on their own 9-yard line in the next series. That late chance for Seattle goes by the wayside because of B.J. Hill. The Bengals finally get to 500, 3-3. Seattle falls to 3-2. Bengals win 17-13.
Joe Burrow, 24-35, 185 yards and 2 touches. 1 pick in that game. Afterwards, it was Joe Burrow talking with Evan Washburn.
But, Joe, this felt like 2 games in 1. How did you guys hold on to grab this W?
And defense stepped up big time in the second half. That's how we did it. We played horrible on offense. The second half, we got a lot to fix.
You mentioned that defense. There's been so much focus on you, your health, and the development of the offense. What did you learn about this defense today that has some new pieces, especially in the back end?
Yeah, they played great today. They stepped up big in the biggest moments. We owe them a lot today.
I can tell you're a little frustrated. What do you take away from this game and where you guys stand here heading into the bye?
Got to get better.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Wow, Joe Burrow, furrowed forehead and the like. Phil, was he not happy?
Nothing like a good angry quarterback, man. I love it. I really do. Listen, you watch this game towards the end, it comes down to this. The defensive line of the Bengals won the matchup physically.
That's right.
And you got to give Lou Anarumo a lot of credit because we all play quarterback along with these games, and he was mixing it up, getting pressure, doing whatever. And, you know, in that kind of moment, it's really tough on the QB.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the defense, I mean, Seattle was able to move the ball, but what they were able to do in the red zone, and particularly the second half, was amazing. You can see right here, getting the ball down there. How about this interception by Mike Hilton? Again, getting the ball down at the end of the finished drives. He's sitting right here. You can see Cam Taylor-Britt. He gets an interception there, back-to-back games for him. Again, in the red zone. Pressure right here. Sam Hubbard coming from the outside. And then B.J. Hill, great little TE stunt right here. Tackle comes through right there on 4th down. They were able to keep them out of the end zone. And again, I said go back to Lou Anarumo and that red zone defense. We saw what they were able to do to Patrick Mahomes. Points allowed, 13 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, 2 interceptions. That defense has been there all year long. And I'll tell you what, they won this game today.
Billy, mix it up so much. That's what's great. Sorry, Jay.
No, they were all over Geno in that second half. And I think it's good to see Joe kind of acknowledge that. He knows the offense didn't play that well in the second half, but you have to grind out these tough victories if that's what you want to do is be successful. And that defensive line, Trey, Hubbard, Hill, Reader, those guys did it today.
Yeah, QB hits, one of my favorite stats in all of football. I get credit for it, but if you're getting to the quarterback, you're making him uncomfortable. And, Coach, what stood out to me when you showed those defensive highlights, they were rushing 4, which is basically Coach saying, hey, my dog's up front. You get to the quarterback, you collapse that pocket, try to get some hits, and you make Geno uncomfortable. And you saw that in the 4th quarter. He was a completely different quarterback. The numbers were there. He threw for over 300 yards. But when it mattered the most, they were able to drop 7 guys, close up those windows, and make it difficult for Geno to wheel and deal.
You know what? For the Bengals, they have to try to run the ball. They got to take some pressure off the passing game. And I know it's kind of like, you know, you want to throw the ball because you have a great quarterback. You have great wide receivers. You can pass block, and he'll do all the right things with the football. But you saw Joe Burrow, as you just said, an angry quarterback. I'd be angry too. I mean, they're not even attempting to run the football.
Yeah.
So if you want to help the Bengals, especially against some of these other better teams that are going to be on their schedule, they have to start trying to run the ball, Coach.
It's okay. It'll be real easy next week against the 49ers. Well, not like
they're off next week, and then the 49ers.
Yeah, the Niners.
You know, their run defense, you know, that jumps up because we know Pete Carroll and what he really wants to do. They got those 2 big running backs over there, and they couldn't make that work either for the Seattle offense. So they relied on that pass. And, you know, it is the old saying, what is it? when you come one-dimensional, you're in a lot of trouble in the NFL.
You know, it really comes down to situational football because you still talk about red zone, that's one part of it, and third down is another part of it. And you sit there in Cincinnati's 2 of 11 on third down. So, you know, a lot of those third downs are third and really not their advantage for the defense. Why? You're not running the football. You're not taking and getting into 3rd and 5 or less, where Joe Burrow has got a lot of different options. Instead of 3rd and 8 or 9, now you're having to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. All of a sudden your feet, you know, the pocket starts to collapse a little bit. So, you know, again, it goes back to the things right there. Joe Burrow, I love the fact they won this game. He couldn't get off the field fast enough, and that's the kind of competitor he is. But they have to step back, Zach Taylor, and just assess. I agree. You have to get back to have more balance in this offense.
With the way that they started this season, they're in a good position.
Yeah, they are.
You know, you're coming off a couple of victories. Your quarterback is clearly a lot healthier now than he was when he started the season. You get a bye, you get to relax, reset. Everybody gets a little bit more healthy a couple of weeks from now. They got a gauntlet coming up with teams that they're facing. Let's see if they can get on the run in the AFC.
So going back to what you said during the pregame show, Coach, this is a time where the coaches step forward and show what they can and can't do. The guys have already talked about having a week off, but who's coming up? And Joe Burrow, you love the fact that he is focused on getting it done. What's the coach going to do to help him out? Let's find out. Coach Zach Taylor.
Hey, for 1 second, that was not easy. But at the end of the day, you guys found a way to pull it out. 3-3. Hats off to you guys, man. That team, all 3 phases, we've all watched the tape. That's a good football team, man. And so they gave us their best shot. We gave ours. We came out on top, and we're proud of you guys.
Who they? Who they? Who they think gonna beat the Bengals? Who they? Who they? Who they think gonna beat the Bengals?
Yeah, man, nothing like the locker room after a victory, is it? It's the best. But, you know, going back to this, the Bengals, which we did 2 years ago, remember in the championship game, how they can change up so much on defense? And, you know, I used to do all those games, and I'd hear, we're going to save this for the second half and this, and nobody ever does.
Right.
But the Bengals are one of the few teams that I've watched, even today, they know how to change it up once the game is settled in, especially in the second half, and it does catch you by surprise as a quarterback or an offense.
You know, you sit there and talk about this time of year. You have a body of work. You are who your tape says you are. This is my identity, who as we are. And right now, if I'm sitting back, Zach Taylor, I'm saying, you know what? I'm gonna get Joe Burrow hurt. So I got to go back what he did for his first year. Let's put him back under center. Let's get back to running the football a little bit more. Let's take the pressure off of him. You need this guy to be healthy and standing in December and January, not trying to throw 40 times a game right now to win these games. So I think you sit back. It's a great time to have a bye, assess where you are, and move forward.
And on the flip side, you look at the Seattle Seahawks. There's moments this season where you're convinced that Geno's playing like one of the best quarterbacks, but then the offense will struggle. I mean, with the talent they have in the backfield, you have a couple of really good wide receivers. We know Lockett and DK Metcalf, and, of course, some tight ends that can make some plays, but they struggled in the red zone. You got 5 drives, only 1 touchdown. And the turnovers, one which is crucial, and, of course, the sacks at the very end. We say it all the time. You get in the red zone in a close game like this, which is literally a fist fight with a very tough, hard-nosed team, you got to come away with points.
Yeah.
Well, what's amazing to me is that you had 2 4th-down situations late in this game.
Yeah.
And Pete Carroll decided not to kick the field goal. Had he kicked the field goal there, they would have been down by 1 point. And guess what? They would have gotten the ball back. Well, I don't know if they would have, but most likely they would have. That's the way the Bengals could have kicked the field goal to win. So that's going to be a big question mark. But the one thing I will say, JJ, and I don't know if you realize this as a defensive lineman, as a quarterback, it's 4th down. I have to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
I cannot hold on to that football. And Geno twice held on to that football.
Yeah. I do realize that. Yeah. I do. And those are those situations that you're pinning your ears back. And a little bit to what Nate was talking about earlier, those guys dropping back in coverage were confusing Geno a little bit. I mean, he knows he has to get rid of that ball. He's a veteran guy. He's been around. He's seen a lot of things. But he was still a little bit, he didn't know what to do with it back there, even though he had to get it out. And I think we're talking a little bit about the Bengals. Joe's pissed. They're not happy with the way that they played, but you're going into your bye week at 3-3 instead of 2-4. Yeah. That's a very, very big difference, and you know that you're going to feel a lot better over the next 14 days.
Here's one thing I say about all offenses. Once you get in that red zone, you got to be creative and come up with different ways because it's so condensed. And we're sitting here watching the 4 rushers. I go, who are you going to throw to in that? Because everybody's trying to get to the end zone or wherever, and it's tough. There's 7 guys.
7 guys.
Covering those.
Underneath, over the top, and on the sideline.
It's
Copy Miami. Whatever Miami does, that's what you try to do.
Well, you got to have that type of technology on your offense, too.
I was about to say Miami's a whole different program. I still go back to what Bill Cowher said. This is coaching time. Let's see what comes up. We will step aside for a quick timeout. The guys get a chance to unload with what they know as the State Farm postgame show will continue from here in New York after this.
Want to stay up to date? Just tell Siri. Show me football scores.
All right, and welcome back to the State Farm postgame show. Let's get back to the highlights series.
Okay, guys, earlier today, over in London, the Ravens, the Titans. Here comes Lamar Jackson. He's going to run out of the pocket, and he's going to find rookie Zay Flowers. 10-yard touchdown. This could be 15-3 Ravens at this point. Ryan Tannehill is going to go deep, but this ball is going to get picked off by Geno Stone. And this is going to lead to one of the 6 Ravens field goals for Justin Tucker. Ryan Tannehill got hurt in this game. Got taken off. Ravens win 24-14. They go to 4-2. Tennessee falls to 2-4. Lamar Jackson also ran for 62 yards.
Okay, the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. After a Colts turnover, Jaguars' Travis Etienne takes the direct snap. And what do you think happens? 22 yards for the touchdown and put up the Jaguars up 14-3. Then Trevor Lawrence finds Brenton Strange for a 10-yard touchdown throw. That made it 31-6 Jacksonville. They end up winning 37-20.
Phil Jack's 3rd straight win. They get it done to improve the 4-2. And after the game, it was Amanda Renner with Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, that's officially 3 in a row. But before we get to that, you went down with that left knee. How are you feeling?
Feeling all right. I'm going to get checked out a little bit more, but it should be okay.
You told us in meetings this week this team found something in London. The team got closer. Chemistry got stronger. Describe what this team has found.
I just think we got a renewed sense of energy. I feel like we're really coming out with the right mindset. It's in practice, on Sundays, all the above. I think we've found that spark that we needed. And now we just got to keep that momentum going. Today, obviously, it's hard to win in this league. There's a lot of things offensively that we need to clean up, but ended up winning convincingly against a divisional opponent. That's huge for us.
What about the way your defense played today? You guys locked down that run game. You were putting pressure on Gardner Minshew all day. What can you say about those guys?
Defense has came to play every week this season. They've kept us in a lot of games. They've given us some huge turnovers, short fields today. I mean, they're just doing a heck of a job. If they keep playing like that, we're going to win a lot of games.
It's a quick turnaround for you. It's going to be in New Orleans on Thursday night. What is the key to you guys continue to go from jet lag to now another quick turnaround?
I think just making sure we're healthy, getting our bodies back. Before Thursday, getting our feet underneath us and making sure, obviously, the mental part of the game, preparing, is big, but physically, on a short week, you got to make sure you're ready to go.
Congratulations on the win.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Speaking of New Orleans, they are down at another AFC South team, Houston. Derek Carr over the middle to Rashid Shaheed for a 34-yard touchdown, made it 7-7. And then C.J. Stroud, an offensive rookie of the year candidate. He finds Robert Woods in the end zone for a 6-yard touchdown to make it 17-7. And then in the 4th quarter, on 4th down, Derek Carr throws a screen pass to Alvin Kamara, but he is stopped short of 1st down for a turnover on downs. Houston, 20-13 win. Last year, the Houston Texans had 3 wins. Here in Week 6, they just got their 3rd win today.
No question about that. Hey, fellas, talk about a big win for Jacksonville for sure.
Jacksonville, listen, they had a tough time on offense. You got to give Indy's defense a lot of credit. It was the turnovers. Really simple. I hate to always say that, but it was 4 turnovers to 1, and that's going to be a difference in almost every single game. In Jacksonville, the offense, like I said, wasn't flying around, but the defense, man, they were all over too. Gardner Minshew, 3 interceptions. Josh Allen, every time I look at the Jaguars, I go, Josh Allen once again? But intercepting the pass, Gardner Minshew's really careful with the football. Well, not today. That means pressure, like there's another shot. When you get pressured as a quarterback, you're going to make mistakes, and Jacksonville's defense did that for him today.
And, Bill, I know you talked a lot about the coaches again at this time of of the year. I'm driving that point home. But Doug Peterson, he's been there before, and after the game, it was Doug Peterson in the locker room.
This is just me. I'm kind of the outsider looking in, big picture right here. This team is beginning to really come together as a football team, and that's exciting because we just scratched the surface, man. We just scratched the surface on how good we can be as a football team. Okay, we've definitely just scratched it. Hey, but listen, my hat's off to you guys. The way you guys handled this week too, it's not easy coming back on a 10-day trip, handling all that stuff and the late nights and all that. Right? Great job. Hey, listen to me. Enjoy this one. You're AFC South. You're on top of it right now. We still got a long road ahead, but congratulations to everybody. All right? 1, 2, 3, ready? 1, 2, 3.
I'll say is Doug Peterson has been there before, and as a head coach making the reference to being over in London, they stayed there for 2 games, got 2 big wins being over there and coming back there again and this week, and going against a divisional opponent that was playing very, very well, winning 3 games in a row. Again, so you look at it, it was the defense that really stepped up big, and the offense stepped. They gave him the big lead early in that game, and Travis Etienne, he gives him a spark, he gives him that speed, and Trevor Lawrence, if he doesn't make the mistakes. This is a very solid team on both sides of the ball, and the defense sometimes gets overlooked.
Yeah, I'm happy for the the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're playing at a high level. But, Coach, you're right. You look at Trevor Lawrence, he has this control. Whether he has big numbers or not, you can see he's a lot more comfortable in the pocket. He's at that point in his career where he's turning into a young vet. Not necessarily there yet, but you can tell he's leading this team, and everybody else is following. And with their players that they have on their offense, you have guys that can run in between the tackles and then catch out the backfield. So he has options everywhere, and he's utilizing them well.
You talk about coming home from London. They were over there for 2 weeks for that experiment to see how it would go. They went 2-0. They come back, have no issues. They win a game. Now they have a chance on a Thursday night. They get this one rolling to a long weekend. They're rolling a little bit. And I do want to say, Josh Allen, 7 sacks on the year. Guys having an impressive season so far.
They got to roll into New Orleans now. They have a tough defense. The one thing I wonder, I hope that Trevor Lawrence is okay. And the other thing when I watch these post-game press conferences or these post-game coaches and player meetings, I'm thinking, man, those locker rooms are pretty sweet.
Oh, right?
I did
that was a nice looking locker room.
I used to dress in a dog kennel.
Nice looking locker room. You're talking about the attitude.
No, I'm talking about the whole locker room.
Wait, where'd you used to get dressed at?
In a dog kennel. That's what it looked like.
Nice job of highlighting what Josh Allen is doing on defense as well with that 7. That's a good point. Hey, so you guys talked about Jacksonville getting it done overseas. What about Baltimore? Give me your thoughts about Baltimore playing overseas and what they did.
Hey, look, there's nothing wrong with this Baltimore football team. That's the first thing that gets me. One, they're big, they're physical, they got a formula, and everybody goes, oh, Todd Monken, it's not good enough for Lamar. Yes, it is. He didn't, take the cheese and go out there and I got to throw it because everybody expects it. OBJ, they drafted another first-round wide receiver and Zay Flowers. No, I like the way they're doing it. Lamar's happy. They're getting open. He's throwing the ball very well. He's accurate. And let's quit looking for these all-star great numbers.
Yeah.
Let's worry about winning the game. And they've been in position to be 6-0 very easy.
You make a good point, Phil. You look at a team like Miami, right? They put up these numbers. We're excited about it. We talk about it every single week. Just because Baltimore adds a few players outside that can catch the ball, that doesn't mean they're going to change their identity. They know exactly who they are. Lamar Jackson can throw the ball well when you need him to. Mark Andrews is his #1 wide receiver / tight end. And when he needs to take control of the game, they will turn Lamar from quarterback to running back and start doing QB leads and QB powers in order to get that offense going.
The only thing that did change, it's funny, on 4th and 1 this week, John Harbaugh kicked some field goals this week.
As opposed to last.
So I'm just saying, as opposed to going for it on 4th and 1 because analytics says go for 4th and 1. Because you take the points doesn't mean you're not playing to win. So I'm just going to.
He's referring back to last week.
I'm referring back to a number of people talking.
Well, we're glad he did it because otherwise we have to listen to you moan and groan.
Yes, exactly. But the one thing I will say. This is the MVP, Lamar Jackson, the dual threat quarterback. Everybody said, oh, there's going to be this new offensive coordinator. They're going to throw the ball more. Odell Beckham Jr. is there. They draft Zay Flowers. It's going to be more of the Miami style of offense, but it's not. It's built around Lamar Jackson and what he does. And what he does really well is when he runs with the ball, as you know, you said last week, it's almost impossible to tackle.
Well, you know, I'm not disagreeing, but it's tougher to run the football, and it's rougher for him this year big time. These defenses get faster every year. And, you know, I hate to say it this way, but quarterbacks don't get faster every year in the NFL. They come down a notch, the defenses will go up. And to me, they're getting faster every year.
Let me go back to a Bill Cowher point, because I know Nate was a one guard in basketball as well.
Yeah.
John Harbaugh didn't lose the feel of the game to go with what analytics was saying as opposed to what makes sense. Red Auerbach said that, don't lose the feel of the game.
He recaptured it.
Okay. Good point, Bill.
He recaptured it. So I said sometimes you get caught up in it, and you sit back and you look at yourself and look back and say, you know, maybe if I kick that field goal at the end of the first half, maybe that 3 points wouldn't be staring me in the face.
Speaking of getting caught up, that AFC North's a tough division. The Browns just pulled it out against the 49ers.
Oh, wow. Funny you should say that.
That division is tough.
Yeah,
defense.
This is my highlight, so will you be quiet for a second?
JJ, jumping the highlight. JJ.
So, thank you. And here we go. Talking about that game up there in Cleveland. It was about Kareem Hunt and Harrison Bryant going to pitch it to him. And they get on his board first. You see him from 16 yards out. Then P.J. Walker is intercepted by Demondor Lenore.
Somebody help him.
He got it. He returns it to the 8-yard line, and then Jordan Mason will take it over. 2 Dustin Hopkins field goals after this would sit there and all of a sudden put right there, it's going to put Cleveland up. Right here, watch this. This is the second one from 29 yards out. It puts it up. There's about 1 minute and 20 left on the clock. And you can see 1 minute and 40 left on the clock. And Brock Purdy, who did not have a great game, Jake Moore, a chance to win it, misses the field goal as time expires from right there. Put him in a position, and the Cleveland Browns beat the San Francisco 49ers.
That was his second miss of the day, wasn't it?
Yeah. And DeAndre Hopkins had 4 field goals on the day, as you can see right there, for the Cleveland Browns, and they win 19-7.
Let me play off of Nate again, playing that point guard. I better make sure I've got my finger on the pulse of you guys. I'm going to pay you off in a second, Phil. But, hey, let's not get JJ ticked off, okay? He's been blending in very nicely. I don't want to see him just go off. He knows you were playing, right? All right, you move quickly. Of
course.
Phil Simms said San Francisco would not go undefeated.
Wow.
So what happened? What Huh?
Oh, wait, we're going to see something here. I don't know. Are we, here we go.
Okay. You would not go. Sorry about that. Go ahead,
well,
expound.
that wasn't a tough thing to say. In the NFL now, we know how it is. And, you know, I'm a genius after the fact, as everybody is. But the emotional game they played against the Cowboys in front of the nation, and it was there. You got to now travel. And, that's right, Cleveland's defense is real.
Legit.
So we got everything going there. I thought Brock Purdy had a rough day today, under pressure. Guys were wide open, all that. So it all worked in Cleveland's favor. And with a backup quarterback, they found a way to beat what we all think was the best team in the NFL.
You talk about that hangover from a big game last week. You're also going into a rainy, cold environment there in Cleveland. Kickers have a tough time in that place. Obviously, the home kicker knows what he's doing, but the away kicker misses 2 field goals. That's the difference in the game. It's a tough place to play.
Yeah, plus you have 2 guys that got hurt in this game. Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey both left this game. I'm not sure what the extent of the injuries are or how long they'll be, but I know one thing. You know, this is probably a little bit of a wake-up call for the 49ers. Things have been going pretty good. And, you know, as Phil said, in the NFL, any given week, anything can happen.
And let's give credit to the Cleveland Browns. You know, I know they had a couple of guys banged up, like you said, Samuel and McCaffrey, but you have your backup quarterback in, P.J. Walker. He doesn't play that well. He has 2 interceptions. But the Browns leave with the win. And right now, with how they started offensively, how their quarterback has been playing, I'm talking about Deshaun Watson up until this point, having an injury. They're sitting here at 3-2, which isn't bad for the Cleveland Browns. I'll tell you what, that AFC North is getting real spicy all of a sudden.
Well, look who they lost to. I mean, how they did. The Pittsburgh game was, man, that was just a knockdown, drag-out.
Right.
But Cleveland, they ran the ball today. Backup quarterback and their defense, man, it's a really good
backup running back who picked up off the street, Kareem Hunt.
Look, they're going to be trouble all year long, I think. And if Deshaun Watson comes back healthy whenever he does, I think that just adds another element.
It just goes back. We talked about, JJ, you talked about in the very beginning of week 1, Jim Schwartz, the difference he's made with that defense. That defense is suffocating right now. Brock Purdy is not, he looked normal today. Now, he did a great job in that last drive to put him down in field goal position. And I'm not ready to all of a sudden throw Brock Purdy under the bus. But that was was a hard game on the road after a big emotional win. And I'll tell you what, the Cleveland Browns not having their starting quarterback, all the injuries they've had on offensive line, their running back, Jim Schwartz and that defense says, you know what, we got to step up.
We got it.
And you know what? They got it.
It shows you how fragile this narrative can be in this world. They make that field goal. All of a sudden, Brock Purdy led the fourth quarter comeback on the last drive of the game. They miss it. Now it's like, ooh, we've been crowning Brock. Is it too early to crown Brock? But I look at that AFC North. Who do you have coming out of that division? I mean, it is a very, very, very tough division.
Yeah, I'd say all of them, JJ. Good luck. It's rough. And it's who's going to win? I think everybody's made this point today a little. Who's going to win the most ugly games?
Right. And I think you could be tough. And I think you could have 3 teams come out of there. I really do. You think about it, I think you could have 3 teams.
See, I think they beat each other up. I think that they just keep beating each other up as somebody comes out of there.
One that comes out of the South. I think there's only one. I think it's Jacksonville. I think only one comes out of the West, and I think that's Kansas City. And I think there's 2 that comes out of the East, and that's going to be Buffalo and Miami. And I think the other 3 come out of the AFC North.
So, Bill, as we head toward commercial, let me make sure I'm not misstating what you said before. Sometimes it's not a bad thing. Not that you're looking for it. Sometimes it's not a bad thing if your team loses a little bit to get them to refocus.
There's no question about it. Listen, this was a game. You're not going to. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You can overanalyze it, but this San Francisco team is for real. But I tell you what, so is the AFC North, and they've realized that when they travel across the country.
Yep, ugly football. Here we go.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. JJ, have you calmed down?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Good. Yeah.
You know, okay, good. That's all I need to know. Hey, folks, we'll step aside. Back with more on the State Farm postgame show after this. Saturday on CBS, 2 more college football games coming your way, beginning at noon Eastern. Number 22 Air Force taking on Navy. Then at 3:30, the SEC on CBS features a rematch of one of last year's most memorable games when the 17th ranked Vols go on the road against number 11 Alabama. That Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. Welcome back to the State Farm postgame show. Nice to know JJ stayed in his seat. Let's go, Nate.
All right, speaking of Bama, we have a couple of Bama quarterbacks. Panthers, Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa. If you have Tyreek one-on-one, just throw it up to him. My man is open by 2 strides. And he does a backflip with the phone in his hand. Ooh, I think a fine might be coming soon. But you got money, so you can afford it. All right, Tua Tagovailoa, he was not done. He's going to hand it off to Raheem Mostert, who had himself a day. My man has 10 touchdowns on the season. We're just 6 games in. They do a little remember the Titans celebration. Not like that. Dolphins win big, 42-21.
And if you heard a little extra pep in the voice of Nate Burleson, that's because he wants to represent Raheem Mostert. After the game, it was Melanie Collins with Mr. Mostert.
Raheem, congratulations on the win. You guys started in a 14-0 hole today, but came back to score 42 and win this one. What did you see in the response from your team that you liked most?
Resilience. You know, these guys right here are just, man, when we're down, they don't take anything for granted. We know what we got to do, especially on offense. You know, defense did their thing. A couple 3-and-outs, and then, you know, they got the lead early on. But all in all, you know, this offense, we're rolling, man. And once we're rolling, it's hard to stop us, as you can tell.
Sure is. 3 touchdowns for you today. That's now 11 on the season. Not only a career high for you, but an NFL high. What were you seeing out there today, and what's been the key for you in this incredible start?
I mean, first and foremost, of course, I always got to thank the O-linemen, you know, and even the skilled players. You know, we got Alec blocking on the end, and so do we have Julian Hill. So, I mean, it's a cumulative of guys that just going out here and doing their jobs on a day-to-day basis, and it's paying off for us, you know. And then I'm just finding holes at the end of the day and just trying to make a play.
And you guys have a big test up next week in the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you still need to see from this team before you face them next week?
Yeah, of course, you know, 24, 48-hour rule. You know, I mentioned that last time. It's still in effect right now. But we're gonna watch this tape, and then we're gonna move forward with Philly, and you know, we're gonna get their best shot. I know it's gonna be a night game, and it's gonna be exciting. So we just gotta be prepared, especially with that defense, because that defense is fairly good, and then their offense, you know, is unbelievable. It hurts. So they got plenty of playmakers on that side of the ball. So we just gotta control what we control and do our thing.
In the meantime, enjoy this win. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thumbs up. Let's go.
Let's go right there. I thought the Washington Commanders went down to Atlanta Falcons and Sam Howell. Comes in, he's going to find Brian Robinson here. right there, a little dump pass right there, 23 yards. Sam Howell, 3 touchdowns on the day. Sacked at times. No interceptions, though. Desmond Ritter throws a 2-yard touchdown pass here to Johnny Smith. Desmond Ritter has never lost at home as an Atlanta Falcon. 2-point conversion failed, but then right here, he's going to intercept it in the end zone. You can see right there by Benjamin St. Juste. And Desmond Ritter, 3 interceptions on the day. Washington only had less than 200 yards of offense, but they did not turn the football over, and it was Washington winning 24-16.
Key stat that we know in football, turnovers, right? And after the game, it was Howard University's own A.J. Ross catching up with QB Sam Howell.
Commanders quarterback Sam Howell, coming into this game, your coach Ron Rivera said you all needed to be more balanced on offense, and that's what happened today. Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, all with touchdowns. How would you describe your confidence and chemistry today?
Yeah, I think we did some good things. We kind of spread the ball around, did a lot of different things, got the run game going pretty good. But this was just a great team win. Really hats off to the defense. They played, a great game. So many turnovers and gave us the ball in good field position. Jameson Crowder had a good punt return that gave us a touchdown. So I think we got to do a lot of things better offensively, but a good team win.
Yeah, your defense had 3 interceptions in the second half, but really all day limited the Falcons' ground game. How clutch were they?
Yeah, our defense, they did a really good job, and we know coming into a game playing Atlanta, they want to run the ball and kind of run the clock out, and our defense stopped the run the entire game, and that's what they're made of. We have so many good players on the defensive front. They showed today what they're capable of.
Now you're back at 500, 3-3, going on the road against the Giants next week. What positive takeaways do you take from this game into the next?
Yeah, I didn't even know we had the Giants next week. Just worried about this game right here, and it was good to come on the road and get a team dub, and then whoever we have next week, we'll prepare and try to go get another win.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we have the NFC North matchup. Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears. Kirk Cousins dropping back. Who is he looking for? Justin Jefferson? No, he is out. That means Jordan Addison, the young fella that they drafted, he came up big, but this was not good for the Bears. Justin Fields would land on his wrist, and he would leave the game, and he was replaced by Tyson Bagent. He would come in, and it wouldn't fare too much better. The Vikings, they got all over him. Right there, a little strip sack, and it is picked up, taken in for the touchdown. Jordan Hicks, 42 yards to the house. And that was Josh Metellus on the sack. The Vikings, they win this one. They desperately needed a win any way they can get it, 19-13.
Guys, there's always a team as a defensive guy that is very tough to game plan against. You just don't know how many, they can beat you so many different ways. And I think right now Miami is that team. It is so damn hard. Obviously you've got the Chiefs. You still got what the 49ers are doing, even though they lost today. But man, when you go up against Miami, A, the players, but B, the scheme. What Mike McDaniel is doing down there, some of the things he's doing, trying to stop Tyreek is, what do you do? The guy's just putting up numbers every single week. Here he is making a big play, going right across the middle. Tua always knows where number 10 is. That's right. Generally, number 10 is wide open. Those are the ones with D-line when you turn around.
Did you go out with a flat tire for a second?
He left the game for a flat. You're like, okay, he's got a hamstring. He's out. No, he's not. He's not. He's good. Backflips in the end zone with cell phones. The guy right up there. It's ridiculous.
It really is, JJ. And to your point, when you have this many playmakers, just look at the guys that are balling out for the squad. You have 17 rushes, 115, 3 TDs for Mostert. Tyreek Hill, just your typical game, 163, but only on 6 catches. We're not even mentioning Waddle and Achane, who's out. This team is absolutely loaded. And Tua Tagovailoa, he's in that MVP conversation and could be running away with it.
Bill, JJ say Tyreek Hill is backwards in the end zone. Unbelievable.
Cell phone.
And afterwards, in the locker room, it was Coach Mike McDaniel with his winning squad.
It should be interesting.
Hey, being honest, this is a huge week for us as a football team, okay? We have all the reason to say this, that, or the other, to read headlines, or to let another team dictate how much better we get in the course of a week. We practice our ass off, and then this one was a big one because we were down 14-0. We find out a lot about people when unforeseen circumstances happen. And I saw no panic, no blink, no come to Jesus with people. People were confident as hell, okay? All we did was give us another reason to be confident because of that adversity that we battled through. Very proud of the collective effort, and this week was a big one for us as we move forward.
Boom. Yeah. Salient point you made. Quirkiness, yes, for the press. with your team. Let me talk serious stuff. And he really had some points there.
Oh, he's right. He's spot on. I mean, he's talking about the emotional elements of a game, the ebb and flow of every game. The early parts of this game, you're down 14-0. No panic. Just keep plowing away. Do your thing. Stay mentally tough and mentally strong. He does kind of keep you in the moment. And he's talking about the important week. He knows who they're playing next week, the Philadelphia Eagles. And so I think his messaging is kind of in a great way. It keeps it very real.
Yeah.
And he doesn't make it too high or too low with anything that takes place.
Here's what he got, too. This message is great. His delivery, I think, is awesome, and the team understands it. But when they get off to a slow start, what difference does it make? Sooner or later, they have no emotion. Sooner or later, one of those guys is going to make a play.
One of them.
And here we go.
Or two of them.
Yeah.
All three of them.
So he's got that thing going for him.
I want to see him against, like, say, Cincinnati. I want to see him against, just like Buffalo. Buffalo basically took the ball out of their hands, and they played great offense. And that's what you have to do. You have to play great offense as well as great defense against the Miami Dolphins. But to me, it's also the play design. You know, Raheem Mostert has got 11 total touchdowns this year already. He's got 9 on the ground. And that one little pass play that they designed was perfect. It was wide open, easy
And
touchdown.
boom, here's another stat. Tyreek Hill, 15 150-yard games in his career. That is the same.
Next Sunday, we are back with an NFL on CBS doubleheader. Early action features an AFC East matchup between the Bills and the Patriots. Later, we can't wait for an AFC West showdown, that between the Chargers and the Chiefs. It all begins noon Eastern right here with the NFL Today. Next Sunday, the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus as we welcome you back to the State Farm postgame show. And Jonathan Jones has news written all over him. That's the case now. Jonathan.
Yeah, usually when you see me at this time, it's injury news. So, JB, let's go ahead and start with Chicago Bears and Justin Fields. He has a right hand injury. There are no broken bones in his hand. Thankfully, that's what the x-ray showed, but he's going to have further evaluation on Monday, so we'll keep you posted on that. Meanwhile, Trevor Lawrence banged his left knee late in that game, but he was walking around fine. He's going to get further evaluation, but he should be okay. Tyreek Hill came and went during the game. He was cramping, wound up getting 6 bags of IVs during that game earlier today. Deshaun Watson, look, I know P.J. Walker just led the Browns as the backup quarterback to the victory over the Niners, but the Browns are hoping and maybe even expecting Deshaun Watson to be back in Week 7 against the Indianapolis Colts, and 2 injuries that we're keeping an eye on. Christian McCaffrey with the oblique, and then Deebo Samuel with the shoulder. They both left the game. We'll see some updates for them later.
The human teleprompter with it all in his head. And this time I say thank you properly. Thank you, Jonathan Jones. All right, folks, we will step aside for a quick timeout. Back with more on the State Farm postgame show after this.
This is the State Farm postgame show.
Back here on the State Farm postgame show, a reminder tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and a news-making interview with President Biden, followed by back-to-back episodes of Yellowstone and a new Big Brother. That's coming up tonight right here on CBS. In NFL action, it was Washington ending a 3-game losing streak with that win over the Atlanta Falcons, improving to 3-3 after the game. It was head coach Ron Rivera in the locker room.
When you take advantage of opportunities, you win football games. It's that simple. Just got to remember a couple things. Y'all did your job, but you got to pay attention to details. We were not detail-oriented today. We got to be detail-oriented. You want to be a great team? Details. Little things add up. Little things become big things become great things. You become champions. That's how it happens. That's just the way life is, guys. That's the process. Anybody got anything? Okay, I'll get that tomorrow.
I think we saw Ron Rivera of the old Chicago Bears right there.
Exactly.
Talking about detail. Don't be freelancing out there if you're playing defense, JJ. You got a gap to be in that gap.
Unless you make the play. You know, every now and then you just think
Which you got to get a lot of. Boom.
I got to tell you today, guys, the Miami Dolphins did everything we thought they were going to do. I just think that I want to see them go against good defenses and opposing offenses like the Buffalo Bills showed them a couple weeks back, and then we'll really find out who they are.
They got the Eagles coming up this week, so I have a feeling they'll be a good one. I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns. Defense playing incredible today. Obviously, Jim Schwartz has that unit doing well up against one of the best teams in the NFL in the 49ers. big win for the Browns.
Yeah, and I'll follow that up. The AFC North, before the season, I don't think we were talking about it much. There were so many different variables, new quarterbacks and new positions, guys getting healthy. But all of a sudden, 6 weeks through the season, it looks like this could be one of the most competitive divisions.
I would say the same thing right to you. They're 3-3, and everyone else has got winning records. And the only thing I'll say, Jacksonville Jaguars, they've won 3 games in a row, and they're not just doing it with their offense, they're doing it with their defense as well.
Yeah, they're getting it done a lot of ways. They got the look. I don't know how they play, but they look great.
Yeah.
I got to say this. Kirk Cousins, I am so sick of him getting beat in the press by all these people.
Saying what?
He is what they make fun of him. He's tough as they come. He takes a ton of damn hits, and he delivers the ball. Can we just give it up? And the other one is the Houston Texans. They got, beat up by the Baltimore Ravens the first game of the year. I can just remember watching it going, man, this team is hanging in there and everything about them, and it's proven right. They're 3-3 now.
You do a better job of going off when you do radio than I would. But you know what? I'd love to do a segment with you one time, just taking on some issues with the so-called pundits talking about this. Guys who haven't even smelled a shoestring. Talking about get me started. And by the way, Bubba, you know where I went to high school, right?
Yes, the map.
And the guy, you know who the leading tackler was for Cleveland today is riding the cloud. Oh,
and where'd he go to school? The map.
Yes. Since Bill talked about that. Hey, folks, I've calmed down now. See, I got upset with, got it going from you. See you next week.